High-ticket coaching programs can be amazing, both for you as the coach and also for your clients. But only when they're designed around a really clear, high-value transformation for a particular audience. And also when they have a business model to back it up that really works. In this video, we'll talk about how to create a high-ticket coaching program that 1, delivers meaningful results, 2, commands a premium price point, and 3, doesn't turn into another exhausting job. Let's go. So here's what we'll be covering. First, what high ticket really means and what it doesn't, why many coaches struggle to sell premium programs, the biggest mistakes people make when designing high ticket coaching programs, the essential ingredients of a high ticket coaching program, how to increase value without increasing your workload, why positioning matters more than pricing, and the one question I ask before creating any coaching program. Coaching is a fast-growing industry, but so many coaches, I'd venture to say most coaches, struggle financially. They're great at coaching, but they're not great at optimally structuring, pricing, promoting, enrolling, and selling their programs. Many coaches create programs that are too cheap for the value that they're delivering, so they end up on the hamster wheel constantly trying to get more business. And they're difficult to scale because they're so custom. So they're undercharging, over-delivering, and not creating any meaningful structures that can be replicated and delivered consistently at a high level for a high price point. The result is burnout, inconsistent revenue, not delivering at the highest level, and eventually a lot of people just walk away from this industry altogether. And it's sad because what we're up to is helping people live better lives, and that's important work that people need. The good news is that the problem is probably not your coaching. You probably already knew that. It's probably in the way that you're structuring, promoting, pricing, and selling your programs. So here's the first paradigm shift when we start talking about high price point, because having a higher price point solves a lot of these problems. You can work with fewer people and make more money. That's more efficient, right? So instead of being on the hamster wheel of trying to get all these clients at lower price points, you can sell one client at a higher price point. That makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? Problem is, it's a whole different ballgame to sell and enroll and deliver to a premium client for a premium price point. The really big differentiator, the big thing to walk away with is that price is not the primary thing to focus on, even though what you're creating is a high price coaching program or a premium price, let's call it. What you really want to reorient around completely is value, and specifically value to a particular type of client to solve a particular problem. When you refocus away from price and onto value, what becomes clear is that it's not about how many hours you spend, how many Zoom sessions you offer, how many modules, how many hours of content. None of that matters. What matters is the achievement of a particular outcome. And so one thing to keep in mind is that premium clients who have money to invest, the way they see the world is that they would like to buy their way out of a problem. And so this is great news because it means that they're not focused on all the bells and whistles, all the features and benefits of what you're offering. It's not about whether what you're offering is a great deal. It's about whether what you're offering is going to achieve the outcome that they need and want. And here's the kicker, the less time it takes them, the more money they're usually willing to invest. The less effort on their part, the more they're willing to invest. A lot of times people with money tend to be people who are busy, who have successful businesses, or who are high achievers. They don't have time to waste. They're not going to care if you give them 12 bonus episodes of some podcast interviews that you did, right? So those low ticket offers that are stuffed with value, it doesn't translate for a high ticket offer. High ticket offer is about the most efficient path to the outcome. So remember that, keep that in mind as we proceed. So another way to say this is that information is not transformation. So stuffing your offer full of information is not going to make it feel more valuable to a premium buyer at a premium price point. One of the biggest things that I see is that people are selling hours instead of outcomes. They're packaging their premium programs based on sessions rather than based on results. I'll give you an example. I worked with a hypnotist, and this hypnotist was charging $150 an hour. And her whole goal was to sell packages of 6 or 12. Now, that makes a lot of sense. That's how hypnotists generally work. That's how a lot of professionals work, by the hour, by the session. Makes sense that they would be compensated for their time. Problem is that the better you get, think about this, as a hypnotist, I would imagine, the fewer sessions it takes to get the outcome. So the better you get, the less money you make to get a particular outcome. Now, I get it that over time, once you have a relationship with a hypnotist, you might go back again and again and again for different things. So the better they are, the more business you're going to do together. But initially, somebody comes in to a hypnotist, is like, hey, I want to quit smoking, let's say, and the hypnotist is like, well, I'll sell you 6 sessions for $150 each. That's my package. And the person's like, okay, well, will it get done in 6 sessions? And the hypnotist is like, well, usually it does. I'm really good at this, so it should be done in 6. The problem with that is that it puts your interests at odds with each other. Now, a premium client, they imagine this reoriented as a premium high ticket offer, right? Like the best hypnotist in the world maybe takes 1 session or 2 sessions, right? And they can do the same outcome with less sessions. Why should they make less money? Right? Well, they could charge more per session. That's one way to do it. But my advice is, why don't you have a quit smoking package, and it costs $1,000 and it's guaranteed. You're making more than 150 times 6, and you're guaranteeing your work. That basically signals to the buyer that you'll stand behind the quality of your work. So that's one way to look at it, to package it as a package with an outcome-based price. For example, my business breakthrough program, we do a 3-day, it's $3,000, and you come in and you map out your program, you figure out all your strategies, your marketing plan, your 90-day plan, and all of that, and you walk away with all of these outcomes. Well, I give people a guarantee that they're going to walk out with those outcomes, or else they can come back and do it again. I'm not going to charge them again if they didn't get the outcome. It behooves me to only enroll people that I know that I can get to that outcome. Okay, now before I dive into the actual 7 parts of this, I'm going to ask that you please like this video, subscribe to my channel, and share any comments you might have below. All right, so here are the 7 pieces. We've briefly touched on some of them in the stories that I told, but let's get through them here. Number 1, solve a valuable problem. You want to solve a problem that is expensive or urgent or pervasive, something that really people will invest money solving, and that they know that they have a problem with. If it's too fluffy, or if it's not keeping them up at night, they're not looking for solutions, chances are it's not an expensive enough problem to warrant a high ticket solution. So for example, a valuable problem might be, as a coach, right? For a coach might be, well, my client or my prospect just landed a CEO job and they have no idea how to lead a team. I mean, that's a pretty wild example, but that's a very urgent, pervasive, expensive problem. This person is stepping up into a huge amount of influence and pressure and authority, and they need to step up their leadership. That's a great problem for you to solve as a high-ticket coach. Secondly, begin with the outcome. What is the end state? If they're starting here at A, where will they end up over here at Z? What is that end state, and what will it take to get there? Price based on the value of that outcome rather than the value of all the steps and the processes to get there. Generally speaking, the value of the outcome is much higher than just adding up the hours of coaching that you'll be doing with this client. The third piece is to choose a very specific audience. Choose an audience that has the means to pay high ticket. Right? I'll say, from my own experience, I messed this one up. Here I was focusing on building a high ticket offer. My inner circle at the time when I started it was $18,000 for the year. But I was marketing on the front end to people who were struggling with money. Are you struggling to make your business work? Blah, blah, blah. And then here I was offering this high ticket program. they didn't fit. The front end and the back end didn't really connect very well. Number 4, something that makes your program, that makes your work seem more valuable, that has high perceived value, is if you have a signature system or a signature methodology. If you're not just a hypnotist, but you've developed a rapid transformation hypnosis methodology. And here's the key thing about this. You can invent your signature system. You can name it anything you want. You don't have to go out and get a certification from somebody. You can, but a lot of times if you're very experienced and very good at what you do, you have your own methodology. Why don't you slap a name on it and market that methodology as the solution to the problem that people have? Number 5 is that fast beats more any day when it comes to high ticket programs. Like I said earlier, these people generally that have the wherewithal want to be able to buy back their time and solve their problems with money rather than investing more and more and more time. So giving them more homework, more things to do, even more sessions is less valuable than figuring out the most efficient path to the outcome that they want. This is why, by the way, I love the 3-day model, because if they give me 3 days or 4 or 5 days for a retreat, I know that without the distractions of the outside world, we can pack in a lot of value. Number 6 is a high ticket offer off the bat is generally pretty difficult to sell. It's not impossible. You can certainly go from a cold person, cold audience into a high ticket offer. It happens, but more likely there needs to be a warm-up period. There needs to be something that leads into it. This is where my 3-part framework comes into play. The front end, the breakthrough, the big back end. When I started selling a high ticket offer, like I said, $18,000, I didn't go from the front end straight to the $18,000 offer. I had that in between offer, which was a $2,500 breakthrough program in the middle. So consider that the high ticket offer might not be right at the beginning. There may be a path to get there. Last but certainly not least, information is not transformation. So instead of asking, how much should I charge? Think about how can I deliver the highest level of transformation and then have them pay for that outcome. And then one last thing, this is just super important for you as a coach, as a human. As you design this program and you look at all these external factors, right, that you're solving, I think it's really important as a foundation to check in with yourself and ask yourself, will I enjoy delivering this program? And if you're building something that's long-term and big, ask yourself, do I see myself enjoying this a year from now or 2 years from now? And just really check in with that piece too. Because if you're charging a lot of money, but your energy is down here, you're not going to be able to lead people in the best way possible. If this was valuable for you and you're interested in going deeper and perhaps working with me to develop your high ticket offer and positioning it, refining it, structuring it, how to promote and offer it, let's connect. Go to superstaractivator.com/go. See you soon.